Hey folks, how we doing? Okay, I know a few people have mentioned that they haven't seen me put a video for a while. I've kind of been out doing field work and stuff like that. Had a couple of things happen around here and stuff, and I've been a little bit busy. It's sometimes it's a little tricky. I am, as you all know, I'm a one-man band. So sometimes it's kind of tricky. It's very difficult to do videoing of jobs that I'm doing in the field. If I'm doing a line bore or something, it's not so bad. I set it up for a long cut and I can do some videoing in between that. But if you're just out there, if you've been called out there to, you know, put somebody's broken excavator stick back together, or, you know, someone's bulldozer yoke or something like that, there's really, you know, it's asses and elbows. I mean, it may not be just me, it may be me and a couple of their company mechanics or whatever. It's very difficult. I know I've mentioned it a few times. It's a chaotic scene. I've mentioned it, like I said, I know Matt from Wide Vision has mentioned it. I think we've even talked about it in our comments back together. He and I are very similar in that manner, in that, you know, when you're out there, your time is not your own. It's the customer. And it's not that you're saying, well, you're charging these people so much money. It's not that. It's just that, you know, you're out there and the pressure is on. You know, they want this thing repaired, you know. So it is a little difficult to do field work filming in this situation. I know I've been able to show you some of the line boring and things like that in the field. I don't know how many of those you're interested in. Actually, I'm going to be leaving tomorrow to go do one of those, and that's usually a multiple day gig. It may be a 10 or 12 hour gig, you know, something like that. So if you're interested in more of that, you know, let me know. Tell me, and I'll try to put more of those. Those I can do. But like I said, just on a normal, you know, field work, normal emergency repair, it's a little bit chaotic to try and do any videoing. Oh, and you've got the sun and this and that, or opposite that, you're doing it under, you know, in the dead of night, and you've got two fireman lights lighting things. So, you know, you're not going to really be able to do much videoing. So that's the reason for most of that. I mean, I have been doing a little bit of stuff in the shop, but it's been mostly field work, and it's been chaos. I am going to give you a little update though. I got some interesting stuff, I think, to show you out here. I'm going to try to work a little bit of actual work into this, but mostly it'll just be me as usual, rambling, beating my chops, over narrating, and I'll show you what's going on. I'm here at my shop, of course, and a little interesting outside. I'm going to take the camera, I'm going to take you outside, and some folks might find that interesting. And I'll show you what's going on out there. And like I said, I'm going to try to work a little bit of actual work into this towards the end. All right, so yeah, let me get on with it. All right, this is the view. I'm at my shop. This is the view coming out the door of my shop. This is out the man door, and then into this is the parking lot out here, of course. I'm just a very small part of this. Is a big, you know, it's a big warehouse over here, and then my shop is right here, you know, behind me, obviously. This is the view outside of my shop. This is not a war zone, though it may look like that. In fact, let me see. Let me come back here. There's the door I just came out of. That's the man door for my shop. I have a very small shop. Let's see, can I get it all in frame here? Jeez, I can't zoom out any more than I have. Oh boy, wow, I'm going to walk and walk. Okay, there you go. There it is, pretty much, end to end. There's my pickup truck backed in over there. There's some of my firewood stacked up. Let's see, I'll bring you around. Hell, I said this is an update, right? So just kind of let you know what's going on around here. I'll bring you around here. Oh, here's a little bit of interesting information. There's some extra plate here. Here's a little bit of piece of information. The forklift is back in service after much to do. Got it running again, thank God. Man, I was handicapped without that. what I wound up doing was I took the head off and sent it out to a guy. Every valve was sunk. I mean, it literally would not run anymore. It was just all bad. It was actually to the point. I learned a little something. I didn't realize that propane forklifts. A friend of mine came by and explained that that with the head being as bad as it was, there's no way it was going to run, simply because the amount of propane that gets regulated, I don't know, whatever they said, it's only down to a couple of pounds or something to that effect. I don't know. They said it can't overcome the blow-by that the bad valves and everything was creating, so it wasn't going to run, you know. So so I did take the head off. I sent it to an automotive machine guy who treated me really, really well, by the way. He said, look, he says, I'm sorry, he says, but you know, you need 8 valves. I have to machine something about they put seats in or something, whatever, you know. So he did it and put it all back together, and it runs real good. It still smokes, you know, like it's something from the Mosquito Commission or whatever, because, you know, it's all worn out and the rings are shot, but hey, it runs, it lifts really heavy objects, and, you know, it's great for me. I even treated it, a friend of mine donated a seat to the cause. If you're watching, thanks, Mike. Yes, we got a new seat and everything. So it runs good again, and we're good. So that's that. Okay, now segue. This is the back of my shop. This is the rear. I do have this bay door going into the shop here. But what I was, that's just let me show you let me get back to where I was out here. Like I said, this is not a war zone. This is the front of my shop here, and this all started. I have very nice landlords. They're very good people, and they were doing some work in here. They wanted to do some paving. They had some broken up asphalt out in front of their shop doors out there. You can see some new paving here. So they were doing some new paving, and I had been, my sewer in my shop had been, it constantly would root up. Get rooted over. In fact, they put a new, here you can see, they bored in and they put a new clean out here so that they could more easily bore the roots out and stuff like that. But after a while, you know, it was happening so often, and the pipe had collapsed and this and that. So they said, you know what? Since we're doing all this work out here, you know, we're going to have the guy dig a new sewer. Well, that started a whole thing. So they thought they'd, you know, you can see where they started. This was last fall. They dug the trench, and of course they intended to go straight out into the street there. Well, the problem with that was, you can see this tank, this huge submarine looking thing. Well, there was another tank that came from there. I'll get over there and I'll show you. So when they started digging the trench, they ran into multiple problems. They were digging the trench, they hit the tanks. Okay, but on top of that, as they were digging the trench, they couldn't go just straight into the street to put the sewer, because there's I don't know, what did they say, a 4-foot storm drain over there. So they couldn't just go straight along this trench and into the street. So what they said was, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to come to the end here, and we're going to go on a 45, and I don't think you can see it. They're aiming way out there, that last fence post. There it is. You can see just beyond that fence post there's a manhole. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out from the end of the building, and we're going to go on a 45 and head for that manhole. That should make us avoid this big sewer main, and we should be all right. Well, I never got that far, because then, let me see if I can go over here. Okay, sorry about all the shaky. This huge hole in the earth here was one of these. One of these huge, I think they're 30-foot long or something like that, these tanks. So that ended that. So they had to get all the permits and everything. So they got that one out just 2 days ago. And they dug it all out, and then I think they steam clean it. Oh, there's the remnants of my water line there. I don't even have water right now in the shop, because they had to, you know, the water line had to be disconnected because it crosses all of this. So they dug that tank out, and as they were digging that, lo and behold, look at this. They find another almost exact same tank, and it too is all full of water and sediment and oil residue and stuff like that. So it will have to be pulled out. So, and then of course here's some of the spoils that they've been digging out. So this is this is kind of you know, this is kind of what we're into here. So again, boy, my poor landlord, I feel sorry. They're very nice people, and they just want to get it done. They realize, you know, they're so nice. They're a huge expense for them, of course, but they just want to get it done. So I thought that might be interesting to show the for one dopey little sink and toilet. Boy, what an incredible you know, ring of fire they have to walk through to get this all done. But again, it's very nice of them. So I don't know how long this will take. I'll try to get back and explain, you know, as we go along with that. Okay, something else I can include in this, because I guess it's kind of relevant to it. I had been thinking, I've been, you know, going over a lot of my videos. Every time, I think, almost nearly every time you've seen me doing any type of work on a piece of, I guess specifically earth moving equipment, I just noticed all my videos, it happens to be deer. Now, it's, yeah, people, it's a very common brand, of course, and, you know, deer is popular, but I just figured I felt obliged to, I figured I'd include this because this is Case equipment here. This is the fella, this is a customer of mine, a very good friend. I've known him for a long time. And it's also the guy that's doing the digging work here and doing this work here in this yard. So I just figured I would include some shots of his machine. He has Case. Now Case is probably, in my immediate area, Case is a more popular machine simply because there's a local dealer for it. And I know oftentimes that's the way it goes, you know, in a lot of places, is that the machines become popular simply because there's a local dealer. And we do have a local dealer here, and you can see these are obviously brand new machines. He just bought these. He's just updated his whole fleet here, well, his fleet of earth moving equipment here. So I just figured I would show you that. I happen to be a big fan of Case equipment, especially the backhoes. I like the fact that they've, you know, despite everybody, I think almost everybody else having done it now, going with the banana boom, and Case has resisted that. And again, not from an operator standpoint, because I'd be hard pressed to dig a damn hole with one of these things, but I just like the fact that they've held to their, essentially to their original design, to not have that banana boom, and you know, and I like the way they've structured, I've always liked the way they've structured their extender hose and this and that, and again, strictly from an engineering point, not an operator's point. Like I said, I'm no operator, but I just like the engineering that Case uses, and I like the way they build their machines. And this is obviously a brand new machine. This is the latest model. I mean, he just bought this a couple of weeks ago, literally. So again, I just figured I'd show that. Just to, you know, like I said, because like I said, I was thinking about it, and I realized every time I show something, it's almost always on a deer. You know, I've rarely, you know, I haven't done any videoing. Again, that's mostly because I am in the field sometimes, and it is hard to you know, it's hard to do videoing in the field. But anyway, here's what's going to be our work. They pulled the one tank out the other day, and they said it was a pain in the ass because the rear, the hoe won't lift that tank out, and they said it was quite the challenge to get it out. You know, though I guess they might have used a combination of the two machines, but they said it was quite a challenge because they have no hook or anything on here. And then they told me a little something. They said, they asked me if I would put this on, and I said, well, why not a regular hook? So they explained to me that apparently now there are OSHA rules, I didn't know that, regarding this stuff, and you can't have an open style hook. Like years ago, you know, you used to have that open hook, and some of them had the spring-loaded clip. Not acceptable anymore. It has to be, I guess, a closed ring or something. And in fact, you can even see, I'll bring you around to the rear bucket here, what they do. Apparently this is for real. You can see what they do here on this on the dog bone link here. They just merely forge, I guess it's a forged in eye, and then down here in the bucket, look at that. They just put these two things through here in the bucket. They don't want you putting, I guess, open-ended hooks, some sort of OSHA rule. So they want to do the same thing on the front here. So they asked me to put this D-ring. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll include that work. So a little something at least we'll have some. Now this is a nice, again, a very nice. You got all the options. It's a very nice 4-in-1 clam bucket here. So now the thing is that this is just rolled material, and I'm betting, judging from what we're seeing here, I'm betting this isn't even quarter. It's probably 3/16 material. So even when I'm putting hooks on, I don't like to just weld directly on here. I'd like to distribute these forces. So I'm gonna find a piece of plate. We're gonna weld the plate on, and then we'll weld the D-ring to the plate. All right. So anyway, so that'll be the the included work portion of the video. All right. So let me see what I can find hanging around, and we'll get that going. All right. So I'll bring you back. All right, well, now, since this is a very, probably brand new machine, and I know all this stuff now is computerized and stuff, all I did was I just put the bucket in what I hope will be a pretty good position for me to work. And I'm going to disconnect the batteries on that because, you know, I don't want any problems. I don't know if you really have to or not. I always keep the ground very close to where I'm working, but even so, better safe than sorry, I think. I'm just gonna drop the connections for the batteries. So and since everything's nice and new, boy, look how nice this is. This is a cinch. Okay, I'll bring you back. All right, so that's essentially what we're gonna do there. I'm just gonna, you know, naturally that's centered now on the bucket, you know, roughly. Just struck a center line there, mark. And again, I just put a nice piece of 1/2-inch plate. Again, because I'm not sure how thick, you know, I know the thickness of the bucket itself isn't that great. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, and that'll be it. I'll weld the plate to the bucket, and then we'll weld the D-ring mount to the heavier piece of plate. And I think that, you know, again, I think that helps to spread the, you know, the force, you know, out over the, you know, a little bit larger area, and you're squarely between the two arms there this way, you know what I'm saying, rather than just one little pinpoint. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'll come back. I guess I'll this is parked very nicely out in the shade here, so I think I'll just pull the truck over here and do it that way, because I'm gonna do it with stick anyway. I don't want to wire feed this. I'm gonna do this with low hydrogen. So so yeah, let me get that all set up and I'll bring you back.
Okay, that's pretty much going to be it. We've welded everything. Like I said, I only double passed it in a couple of spots here. You know, I really didn't think. I mean, I've got it welded on the you know, the ring onto the plate. You know, that's all welded on there, you know, pretty well. I went over that, you know, multiple times. But the plate to the bucket, again, it's, you know, again, the whole idea is just to spread the force out, so I wasn't going to get carried away with that. Just I double passed it in a couple of spots, and man, that's still hot. And that's going to be about it. So I'm more than satisfied that that's going to hold way more than it needs to, and that's fine. So yeah, so that's going to be about it. So that's the work portion of the video, I guess. I told you I'd give you a little something, a little bit work-wise, and that's all. So yeah, so you saw the carnage out in the front of the shop. We did a little simple welding, hook welding, and I learned a little something today. I didn't know about the whole OSHA thing with no open hooks until now. So I learned a little something there on that, and that's going to be it. So even though I'm at the shop, I'm going to wrap this whole mess up and put it away, and that'll be it. Going out for a line bore tomorrow. Try to, man, maybe let me see if I'll try to take the camera along and see if I can share a little of that with you. Okay, so again, that's it. We're done. I'll try to keep you posted as we go. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everybody that subscribes. I really do. And remember, as some famous guy once said, everybody polka. See you next time, folks.